Good. Board of Education meeting will now come to order at 6:31. Secretary? Here. Sarah? Yes. Carlos?
Present.
Madeline, you said here. Wynette?
Here.
Rastrelli?
Here.
Wellington?
Here.
Yaffe here, vote here. Citizens comment, do we have anyone present this evening who wishes to address the board? Anyone online?
There's a few people online, but no one has their hand raised.
Okay, all right. So the next thing is consent agenda. We need one motion for the items listed below. Was there any questions we had before we do this, or is everyone good? Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Wynette?
Yes.
Wellington?
Yes.
Yaffe, yes. Vote? Yes. Avalos?
Yes.
Ellen? Yes. Rastrelli?
Yes.
Is there any questions following the Monday calls? Okay, then we are ready for District 20 report.
Jump in.
There's just one item for the business office, and that's the PTAB update. It's not anything that you have to vote on tonight. All the alphabet acronyms we throw at you. PTAB is a property tax appeal board through the Lake County. And what we get, the only time we ever get notified as a school district that there are appeals is anything that's greater than $100,000. So they're only the bigger types of cases. So they tend to just be corporate types of things, larger properties like that. Typically Medline is one that does one every year. Well, we wanted to bring this one to you is that we are going to work with District 75 on this from a legal standpoint. Most of the time we don't want to intervene legally because it just isn't big enough. And a lot of times they do, all these cases get resolved. The vast majority of them get resolved at the county level, and it's usually in our favor. So, but when there are bigger ones, we at least want to have our shoe in the ring there. And say, look, this is a big assessment reduction that this company is asking for, and we want them to know that we're going to fight it, or we want to work with them on it and to come up with a reasonable solution. So this particular one, I just wanted to make you aware of. It's in District 75, and it's almost stone's throw from where we're at right now. It's right downtown. It's a shopping mall, or not shopping mall, but a strip mall. And it has the La Salsa grocery store in it. There's a Sherwin-Williams on Holly there. That's part of that whole, it's one big property that's owned by one owner, and then they lease it out. So they're asking for a large reduction in their assessment of the property. My guess is because there's a number of vacant little storefronts in there. So I did go by it the other day. They seem to be filling back up. So a lot of the times, you know, when I've talked to the people at the assessor's office, they take account when something like that has a lot of vacancies, and they'll do a reduction. So, you know, we're going to work with District 75 on us. We've already worked with Fremont on a lot of different ones in the past. So we've always worked together with our elementary districts. It's just that more of these have been in Fremont because you have Target and some of those places over there that we've had some assessment appeals for in the past. This is actually the first big one we've had in District 75 in a while. So the attorney said that they're so backed up with cases, and I think this is pretty typical when you've had a recession. The last recession was a lot worse because it was based on a housing market crash and a real estate crash. This is not. So the types of appeals that we're getting are from businesses that have gone out of business or areas that have vacant storefronts. So those are the types of appeals we're seeing more of, and we're not seeing the housing appeals so much. So, but this one, again, we're going in with District 75 on it. It probably won't even get addressed by the PTAB at Lake County for at least another year because they're so backed up with cases. So the attorney, we may end up not even really even using the attorney other than to say, let people know that we're aware, and if it comes to it, we want to negotiate some sort of deal. But typically, Lake County will work with them, and our attorney will, or I should say, District 75's attorney will work with the PTAB at Lake County and come up with a deal that is good for us and let us know. But I probably won't be coming back to you probably in a good year at least to have any kind of resolution on this. Any questions regarding?
I do.
Oh, yes.
So just to clarify, so it's not that their property is really, should be assessed at a lower value, but they want to try and assess it so that they don't have to pay as much because they are,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not saying they paid too much property taxes. They're saying their assessment, like let's say they assessed your house at 300,000. You say, I couldn't get 200,000 for it. So you go to the county and say, I want mine lowered to 200. That will lower your tax. The assessment will go down. And that's why they do it.
But Andy, they don't base assessments on vacancies and non-vacancies, right?
Yeah, it's very different with commercial and industrial properties because, with houses, you have a ton of different comparables that you can look at and say, my neighbor's house is just like mine, or very similar square footage. So you can come up with 5 or 6 comparables that are very close in value. That's a lot harder to do with these types of properties. So they do take into account their ability to make money on that property as to what its value is. How that all works, I don't know all the inner workings of that. I just know that that is a consideration when they value the property. Yes. All right. Thanks.
If you have any questions, just let us know, okay?
I sure will. Thank you.
Before we begin in the superintendent's report, we do have a recognition for this evening. One of our honored guests with us tonight did receive an award through IALIS. And to present that award this evening is Dan Schwartz. He's a member of IALIS. To present that. Dan, award, please.
Good evening, everybody. Honored to be here as the assistant superintendent here in District 75 as well. I welcome you to the district office. But I'm here really just to honor one of our own students here at Mundelein High School, Trey Baker, who was nominated by myself for, and it's actually a national award, the Honoring Our Own Student Award at the EdFest 2021. And just to give you an idea, ALAS and NABC, so ALAS is the Association for Latino Administrators and Superintendents. NABC is the National Association for Black School Educators. Got together to put a conference for students as well as teachers and leaders, and had awards for this year. And it's really about stepping up in a time when times are a little bit difficult. This year, I got an opportunity to meet Trey Baker through my work with our equity team in District 75, as well as with 120. He has patients for teachers that have been probably more well received than some of our consultants that we pay lots and lots of money to. I can't thank him enough for opening not only my eyes, but the eyes of the teachers and making sure that students have a voice and continue to have a voice. If Trey says he's going to do something, he does. And that's, I think, is really key. And I said at the award ceremony about a month ago, I said, Trey really, when we have meetings with him as educational leaders, we can sit back and be part of the team because we are in good hands because Trey is leading us through all the work that we're doing, whether it's the 5K, whether it's keeper stuff or anything else. And so Trey, on behalf of IALAS, which I'm a member, so IALAS, of which I'm also a member. First of all, Trey, just honoring our own from the Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents for outstanding leadership through times of adversity, March of 21. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I
And
appreciate
then also on behalf of IALAS, a nice water bottle for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for everything that you do for the students of Mundelein.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Well, that's pretty hard to follow, so gonna do my best. Next part of the presentation is about the hybrid plan going forward for what we hope to be the rest of the school year. What I would say is what we've been able to accomplish through one of the most challenging years we'll probably ever face is the consistency that we've been able to provide the support for our students and our staff. And throughout this entire process, one of the goals we've had is making sure we've provided the opportunities and tried to listen to our community and be able to respond to that. And where we're at right now is making sure that we're able to provide the education from two different ways, whether it's in person or remote. And we're doing that right now. And I think a huge amount of credit goes to our staff for being nimble and flexible as we've worked through this past year, as you go back and reflect. Because I do believe this is probably number 13 as far as schedules in less than a year. So we're about one a month, which is pretty good. And our admin team for really pulling people together, getting the different types of plans in place, logistics, thinking of a lot of the small things that we don't always think about every day. So today, pretty happy to be able to be here today. Going to have Anthony and Mike go through what we're looking to start on April 12th, which is having one group of students attend that want to be in on hybrid for 5 days a week. And what I'm going to do after the presentation, come back to you, we do want to hear from you, making sure that we hear, is that the plan you can support going forward for the rest of this year? Or if there's other suggestions or feedback you want to give, that would be the time to be able to do that. Okay? So with that, I'd like to call up Dr. Kroll. Mr. Pope.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we are going through our plan for how we're going to end this school year on our current hybrid schedule. The changes that have occurred with the CDC reducing social distancing footage has allowed us to re-examine some of the practices that we're currently doing. And with the Illinois State Board of Education allowing us to follow that guidance from the CDC, then we reworked our plan moving forward. This plan also will work us closer to having the traditionally normal school student day experience. That's our goal, is to try to continue to work ourselves back to that continuum, to that what we typically know of our student day. So this plan has 3 different components, and with that, I'm going to hand this over to Mike Pope, our assistant principal, to start.
All right, thank you guys. As Dr. Myers already said, we're starting Monday. We will be going from 2 student groups down to 1. So right now, as you guys are well aware, but since there's people listening, our 2 student groups typically on a 5-day week. One group comes on Monday, Tuesday. The other group comes on Thursday, Friday. Obviously, if it's a 4-day week, it looks a little bit different. Based on the requirements and us being able to put students within 3 feet of each other instead of 6, we can now reduce that down to 1 group and have every student that is in the hybrid that wants to come to school can come every day, which is a great thing. We're already working on it. Maintenance department has already went over the weekend and started setting up all the rooms with all the numbers that we need for that to be. A little bit more about that. We did not set up every room to the maximum number that we can fit in a space. We looked at the maximum number that will be in each space based on the hybrid numbers, and then put it at that plus some cushioning. Okay, so let's, for example, you could have fit 25 desks in a room, but the most we ever have in there in a day is 16. We put 19 or 20 desks, so we could still keep students as far away as we can, so they're not sitting close together if they don't have to be. So lunch has been going really well. The warm weather is upon us now, as I'm sweating up here. It's partially the mask, but lunch has been going really well. We have our cafeterias available. We've actually not needed to use it right now. We're using our gym space as our main spot for lunch, but obviously our cafeteria is available. The fact that we're doing an all-school lunch at the same time means our entire building is accessible. So if more students started staying for lunch and the weather was bad, we would have the space and could adjust to that. But right now it's been going really well. Obviously, moving to one student group is great. I think everyone I've ever talked to about this so far has been super excited about it. One thing that I don't want to say negative or concern, but one thing that will happen right now, I mean, we have had a few students in our building with COVID. It's happened, just like most schools, it's happened. The way the seats are set up right now, 6 feet apart, we're not having any students be close contacts of any other students at school. So they're not within 6 feet for 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. During class time is when you're seated, and that's the time you would be within 6 feet of each other. Well, our desks right now are set up 6 feet apart, so we don't have close contacts. So it's great that we're having one group, but there will be an increase most likely in some quarantines. So for example, if I'm sitting right here and now we have a few more students in class, I may be now within 6 feet of a student. If that student's up with COVID, I would need to quarantine. Okay.
So
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
clarify.
Yeah.
We shrink our distance to 3 feet, but the definition
Yeah.
of close contact still remains.
Yes, so we're allowed to go down to 3 feet, but they didn't, the definition of close contact has not changed. So still 6 feet within 6 feet for 15 minutes within a 24-hour period, not continuous. So yes, we will probably see an uptick in quarantines. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. Again, we'll start Monday, April 12th. We have paused right now. We've yet to turn off the valve, I guess is one way of saying it. Any student at any time this year, once they want it to be in the hybrid, has requested to come back hybrid, and the next week they've been in the hybrid. We're, with the exception of the first week of the hybrid the first time, we wanted to make sure we had it right. We're doing the same thing this time. So this next week, we're not adding any new students for the first week. I just want to make sure, right? I think it's a good decision. And so we've already talked to quite a few parents that want to come back, and we told them that their start date would be the 19th. We want to get through this first week with who we know and who we plan for, and then we'll make adjustments from there. All right, SOT. Okay, transportation. One of the barriers to starting this model was going to be our transportation. Right now, I don't want to get into all the reasons, but Lakeside, our transportation provider, is having a really hard time finding drivers, and I don't think they're alone as the only company that's having trouble finding drivers. So we worked together with them quite a bit. They're really great to work with. We have so few kids riding the bus right now, partially because our parking lots are open to sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They're free. Students probably just don't want to ride the bus this year more than normal. So more kids are getting dropped off. So right now, we have so few kids riding the bus, we're able to take 2 routes of students, combine them into 1 route. So the routes that we're running right now, we have 8 or 9 routes running per day. And so our normal 17, we're going to still run those routes and just pick up 2 routes at a time. So a bus that typically picks up route 1 will now pick up route 1 and route 2. There's so few kids riding and so few stops. This will not extend into over a 45-minute ride for our students. They'll still get there on time. Because they're able to go past so many stops because there aren't kids at the stops right across. So I was really worried that this was going to be what keeps us from possibly being able to start this, and we were able to work that out with Lakeside. So any questions about these two, and then I'm going to hand back to Anthony.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Fremont, they own their buses. Do they have, is there shortage there for their bus drivers?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Curious.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I know for sure ours is, and I know there's a couple other private companies that are having the same trouble. Yeah. All right, next slide is Dr. Crow.
So one thing I want to mention before I get going with this is that this plan has been created with information or feedback, if you will, from students, parents, staff, and from the administrative team. This particular piece is probably one area where we would have received quite a bit of feedback. So as we were this time last year, everything was shut down. We were at home doing an 8-period day online. Everybody was remote. And at the end of that semester, we did a survey to our students and our staff, our parents. We also surveyed our staff. And the students and the parents came back overwhelmingly and said that it was very difficult to manage an 8-period day. To be able to, granted, it was a very new situation, but we were dealing with a remote remote presentation. We were dealing with how we were supposed to deliver our curriculum. There was a lot of adaptation, we were adapting to the process, and people were very overwhelmed, and they said, please don't give us an 8-period day. That was, again, the spring of last year. At the same time, currently, when we have half of our school on remote, in every classroom, we have teachers who are teaching students who are remote and teaching students who are visibly in front of them. That's concurrent teaching. That's what we call it. And it is exhausting. If you have seen it, then you understand what it feels like to try to keep tabs on both groups and keep them going in the right direction. And so that has been a reality that we've been operating. At this time, we feel the best way to move forward is to continue with our red-gray 4 periods a day oscillating schedule. With that, we feel like we will see less movement in the building because we'll have less periods for the students. That would lead to less rooms that we would have to contact trace if that time and issue comes forth. If we need to have room during lunches, as Mike has mentioned, having an all-school lunch allows us to use the entire building. Right now, we have a facility that's doing what we need it to do, but with one group of students every day, we will see an increase in lunch. And if there's bad weather, we will need to keep students in the building, and we need to be able to facilitate that safely so that we can carry on with the day. That happens every once in a while as well, when we don't let students go out for lunch due to bad weather, if you will. And finally, the transitions between classes due to that concurrent teaching model that we're doing right now is time consuming. Going into a classroom, there's 5-minute passing periods, and teachers, just like students, need to take care of many different things in that 5 minutes to reach their classroom. And when they do, they're setting up for the class period, which means that they may end up being in a different room than they were last period. And they have to, or at least if nothing else, they are in the same room, but they're still reaching out and opening up the session for students who are new to that period, making sure that they're all there and making sure the kids in the classroom are ready to learn. Everybody's on the same page, and then you can begin. At the end of the period, you're also looking at some sanitation time, cleaning the desks before the students leave for the day, or for that period. That's a periodic period. That's a periodic time period every day where that has to be done every period, so that we can move on in a safe manner in those mitigations. So what we're finding is that that has been very effective in the red-gray schedule this time, and we want to continue with that schedule moving forward. Any questions? Okay, please. The other piece that we are addressing in this plan are yellow days. Yellow days exist on a 5-day week only, which is about 2/3 of the school year. Last week, we were only in school for 4 days, so we didn't have a yellow day. This week, we do have a yellow day because we have 5 days in the school. Originally, we started yellow days because we felt it was necessary to do a day of cleaning in between one group of students and the second group of students coming later in the week. As you've heard in many other presentations we've done this year, that became it became a non-issue with our cleaning standards and the tools that we're using to keep our building sanitized. By removing yellow days, and there's only 7 left for the school year, 2 of which we do need to keep for state testing tomorrow, this week, and next week. But then after that, there's 5 remaining days. The elimination of those 5 remaining yellow days allows all of our students, one group of students every day, to come to the building 5 days a week. So by the removal of that yellow day, every student would come to school every day. It looks like this. So this is the calendar that we've provided parents and students throughout the year. We've adjusted it one more time. As you can see, tomorrow we have one of our yellow days for state testing, the 7th of April. On the Tuesday, the 13th, we will use our last yellow day for SAT testing of juniors. And then starting April 19th, we would just go on an oscillating red-gray schedule until the end of the school year. One last piece I'm going to share with you, and then if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. One of the advantages of the red-gray period as well is that it's 80 minutes long. We have set a standard for what we expect in instruction for that 80-minute period. And we've also provided time within that period for students who are struggling and attending, either remotely or in person, to get extra assistance in that period from their teacher. Instead of having to possibly leave that class, come back later in the day and try to reconnect with that teacher if they have the space to do so, with any other students that are asking for assistance. This is uninterrupted time with that teacher if they need to have that time for questions. And so we felt that that was, as our continual need, struggling students are one of the things that one of the groups of students we're always looking to address. This is one that we can address every period, every day, as we go through the remainder of the school year. All right, enough of that. Any questions that you might have that I haven't been able to answer for you?
Anthony, I know first semester you didn't have final exams at the end of the semester. Have you determined if it's going to be the same thing this semester?
We will not have final exams this year, this semester as well. And one other component that we did last semester is that we, at a certain point towards the end, we stopped doing new material and did any type of recap or any type of remediation that we needed to do to catch kids up. We'll be doing that as well. Yes.
Well, first off, thank you. I realize it's number 13. I guess that's a good number to end on. I think this is what we've all done all year, all 13 months, it seems like 14, 15 months is adapt. And it's just another example of that. That's our job and that's what we're doing. I think we've all had opportunities to get some feedback. Not everybody gets to see all the feedback or the questions we've heard from stakeholders and from students and teachers and parents. I guess what I would like to hear is when you reference an 80-minute period, what's the expectation of that? Is it equivalent to two typical class periods combined? Should we expect instruction to be similar to two 40-minute periods? Should we expect, what are some of those? And I know Stacy Gorman probably spoke to that when it was first rolled out 6 iterations ago, but can you just speak a little bit about what 80 minutes looks like in a typical Mundelein High School class?
And having worked at Mundelein through the years of the block schedule, we have had that as part of our vernacular for quite a while. So in an 80-minute period, our expectation that we set forth for staff is that you create and deliver a 50-minute lesson. That lesson, when you say lesson, there's instructional components to that. It could be discussion, it could be activities, all the same, whatever those activities or all those components are, 50 minutes is what we expect that everybody would be completing. After that, it would be a time for you to give, if you have homework, or if you have an activity that you wish them to finish on their own, that they can start that. Add in the time at the beginning and the sanitation, the setup time at the beginning and the sanitation at the end. And we have also provided our staff with the instruction to say, our focus towards the end of that period is, I know I have 3 students with a grade of D or lower. I know and they're attending, so they're here. I have them at my disposal. I'm looking to make a connection with them, work on the next piece, and have them move forward with that. That may mean that students, other students who are remote or other students who are in the classroom may not be involved in that time period, that end of the time period where they have that connection with, or that interaction with the teacher. Let me rephrase that just a little bit. They probably have an expectation for learning, homework assignment for the evening, which is something they can start right then and there and start working on. And if they had a question, the teacher's right there to turn and say, hey, can you just quickly answer this for me? And they can do that. Those are the things that we have had, but we also need to be mindful that as we go to one group, we'll probably have more kids in the classroom. There'll be more of a classroom community happening as well. And we think that will encourage more conversation and interaction with students regarding that work towards the end of that period.
So that 50 minutes is more of that active engagement with instruction and students together, whereas the rest might be more individualized.
Correct.
Is it any different of an expectation for how that'll unfold for a remote learner versus an in-person, or is it kind of still all the same?
It's all the same.
No-
And we have done a lot to really offer our remote students a fantastic educational experience at the same time as the students in the classroom. So we have to, so that has been an expectation from the very beginning. We didn't want to make a substandard lesson, if you will, or experience for students who are remote.
To just sort of add on to what Peter was asking about, it did seem that the overwhelming comment and a lot of the community feedback that we've been getting is that the in-person students, that last 30 minutes of class kind of feel like, well, I'm sort of stuck here in the classroom and everyone at home gets to leave class and go do whatever they want for that 30 minutes. So I guess to kind of Peter's point, is there a way to kind of make that more equitable so those kids that are remote can't just leave while the kids in the classroom have to be there the rest of the time? I don't know how to fix that, but that seems to be like the number one comment that.
And we've had some really good conversations about, do you mandate that everybody stay online, even if you're remote, staying online? And what if you don't? What if you just turn off the camera and walk away and you have a great rest of the period? I can't control that. At some point, we do recognize we only have a certain amount of control over that situation. We do feel that positive talking around, you have this homework assignment, you have me as a resource right now, please stay on, please do this. And building that classroom expectation and culture will help to really reduce that chance of students just getting off and going to play Xbox.
Yeah. And just like you said, I would really hope once we start having more kids in person next week, that some of that is going to take care of itself within the classroom.
Having more of a classroom community will drive people's interactions, make them want to be there more often, because now my neighbor's there, my friend's there, my girlfriend's there. There's a lot of different people there that I haven't seen because they've been in a different group. I may not be going right now because all my friends are in group 2, but I'm only in group 1. Now I'll see them.
Okay, so you first presented this to me on Thursday, and then you presented it to the staff as well that day.
We did Thursday
And
morning.
then the letter went out to the parents that evening, I think it was. And so I'm just curious what you've heard now that people have heard about it in terms of the staff and the families, they're digesting it. What have you heard since then about the response to this?
In terms of emails that we've all been receiving, I've received 2 compared to maybe a good truckload that we've all received prior to that. And so at this point, I haven't heard a very loud response.
One way or another.
One way or the other.
And again, like I said, the only thing I've gotten, or I've received is some kids wanting to come back.
Yes.
I've gotten 4 or 5 new responses. Hey, when can we start? So then I told them we can start tonight. So I have some, but that has been coming in every week, regardless of changing. So I don't know if we do.
Well, I would just like to say, as Peter said, thank you for going through this. I know this has been a tough year to be an administrator. It's been a tough year to be on the board with trying to meet all the needs of all the different students. And I mean, this is the year where resilience has been, it's just hard because there is no perfect answer for each student that we can give individually. But I know that everybody in the group is focused on what can we do. And having one daughter who went through the block schedule, who absolutely loved that schedule and was sad when it went away. I expect our kids will hopefully take advantage of all the opportunities that they're given and hopefully be more engaged and know that this is not forever and we're getting through. We're in April.
And to tag on to that, I think you'd all agree from the conversations you've had, our staff, our teachers in the classroom have done a phenomenal job of adjusting, adapting, and persevering, as well as our students. But they're the ones that are on the front line every day making that work. And I just wanted to share that because it's easy for us to talk about a new design, but I'm not in the classroom executing it.
Well, and
And I want to just make that point.
I've seen with how they have to take attendance when you have students here and getting everybody checked in online in a 40-minute class period, doesn't leave you much time for instruction or questions or making the connection. It's trying to get it all together. So I do thank our staff for really, like you said, persevering, adjusting lesson plans and taking the time to make it meaningful to our students.
I had asked a few days ago and I was really happy to see like what sort of activities are coming up within the school. And I think like the timing of this is just absolutely perfect because we got the homecoming activities this week. It's senior week next week. I just think it's really important that when this happens next week, that we do whatever we can to just make the school feel that much more inviting, really taking care of those seniors because now they have an opportunity to come back to finish out their high school career and just anything we can do. And like, I just wanted to share like where I'm at my school, we just opened yesterday and that energy in the building, like I can't even describe it. It's the first time I feel like I'm in a school in 13 months. And I just think we have a golden opportunity next week to really capitalize on that.
Well, and here's a good indication that yes, last week we had a smoothie truck come and all students could get a smoothie. Seniors got theirs for free. Everybody else could buy them. And it was a crowd. I mean, it was freezing last Thursday, if you remember. And everybody's drinking smoothies. Everybody was very happy. So that's because people are very excited to be a part of that school tradition and that culture. So we missed it.
And this Friday homecoming football game, we got about 100 seniors signed up to attend the football game, to sit not in the normal student section, but to sit in the crowd and cheer on there. It's awesome. So we got over 100 seniors coming to the game, plus some other students, but starting to get a little closer to normal.
Other stuff.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
gentlemen. Next thing we have is our board action items. Is there any- Oh, sorry. Catch up there.
Keep me on my toes. Couple things I just want to reiterate, definitely heard the board's support for the plan going forward. I think for everybody here tonight, everybody listening, the other thing too is to remember, we're looking into August already as we start to plan. The state's supposed to be providing us some guidelines. We're waiting to receive that like all the other public schools. Right now, though, I can tell you from a school district standpoint, we're looking for Mundelein High School to be back open into our traditional setting come August. We're looking to be back in our 8-period day and functioning as we would have pre-pandemic. Those are our full intentions. Now, there certainly could be things that come to us from the state that we'll need to address, and we will, and we'll bring those to you. But as we stand here today, those are the intentions that we're doing to work forward as we look into this next school year. So then if we move on, a couple other items. This one's a quick, easy. This is an annual. Each year, we need to bring back to you, the board, the calendar for the school year, for the 2021 school calendar. In your packet was the calendar at a glance. And the reason that is the only things that were removed from the calendar are the emergency days, which was 1 day before the winter break, and then the 4 days at the end of the year. So once those are removed, those are brought to you as a board, same as in the other public school, and we need you to approve that calendar, saying that that's what we did. Now, if by chance we have some other kind of winter weather-related day or have to close for other reasons before the actual school year ends, I would bring back an updated calendar to you to say we need to modify it. But we're not anticipating this. And what would take place is then I would send that off to the state for final approval, so that they have it for their files. So tonight, we are asking that you do approve the 2021 calendar as submitted to you tonight. Any questions in regards to the calendar?
So the number of days are the same. It's the emergency dates being removed that were tentative if necessary.
Correct. Yep, nothing for the actual functioning of kids and adults in the building is different.
Right. Okay. Thank
Yep. All right. It's hard to believe, ladies and gentlemen, but it was September roughly when we started the process for our policy 712, racial and educational equity. Tonight, we're at the second reading. And you should be very proud as a board to be at this place. We are ahead of the Illinois School Board Association, which saying schools need to start developing these policies. We have ours, or we will have in place. We have had probably some of the best conversations with some of the brightest young minds that you could possibly imagine. And you're going to get to meet a couple of them tonight. So I do want to start off by first asking Lisa and Laura, if you would give a little feedback on kind of where we are. I know today I provided some suggestions for us to look at in regards to the policy. And then we're going to have the pleasure of having Trey Baker and Jordan Miller come up and be able to share with you kind of what they have experienced as they've partnered with us in this process and give you some feedback along the way. Okay? So right now, Lisa, Laura.
Okay, well, this process, so the policy itself since September, but we have been doing this policy for working on this type of thing for 3-4 years. And if I'm not mistaken, it started because of students. I think students brought it to our attention that there was some inequities occurring in our school and that needed to be addressed. And I don't know specifically who or how, but that's what got us going. So we made it a point as a board, and for those of you who weren't here, we attended several day-long seminars. I mean, I know there was a lot of us there. I remember, I'll never forget the time that Kevin had to dress a doll, and he just would never, it was something he was very uncomfortable with, but all these experiences that we had forced us into some things we'd never thought of, some uncomfortable feelings, some uncomfortable discussions, words and things that we never would think of saying out loud. We had to say out loud if we were going to deal with them. So we went to a couple assemblies by Calvin Tyrell, and I know that the staff attended those as the students, and it's kind of like slowly we kind of all got on board. And at this point, when the policy came up for a review, it's like by that point we had everybody full on ready to go. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Lisa, and she can tell you how things have progressed since then.
So I joined the board 2 years ago. I guess 2 years ago tonight was the election for me. And when I joined, that was the most eye-opening thing for me, is that there was already a robust conversation about equity here. And there were already, we were seeing metrics, there were conversations about it, there was clear intention, there was professional development going on. So what tonight is not it's not a start really, as much as it is a continuation and a formalization. It is a milestone of the journey that this district has already been on. And a special nod to the 2 districts that we borrowed some wording from. I can't remember which ones they were.
Evanston and Oak Park.
Thank you, Evanston and Oak Park, because they kind of had some wording to capture things. But we were already well on our journey in terms of things such as a commitment to equity as a concept, One where we look at how our resources are distributed and are targeting it intentionally with an equity lens, where we were already analyzing and reporting some metrics that had an equity lens or calculation to them. There was already curricula that was being developed. The hiring practices already have efforts towards increasing our diversity inclusion and equity is a lens to that as well as I said, professional development. So what is new with this milestone that we're doing tonight is that we are formalizing this commitment. We've put efforts, we've all put some thought into the wording to make this commitment something that we as a board are going to hold ourselves accountable to, something we're going to hold the superintendent accountable to. And it's going to include more training from the Board of Education all the way down. That's included in this policy. More research-informed practices that affect both the staff and the students in terms of how they are supposed to think about issues that impact equity. More rigorous metrics and reporting is a part of this as well. The students in particular, as an effort towards inclusion, it's wonderful that we had students at the table as well. And they contributed really thoughtful insight in terms of what kind of outcomes we're looking for the staff and the students, and what does it look like to be thinking about equity and to be building it into our curricula, our professional development, our practices. They also were they were responsible for making sure we were thinking about inclusion of discipline as something we want to be looking at reporting. They also really brought to our attention the opportunities for mentorship when it comes to staff and the opportunities for making sure that we are creating an inclusive workplace so that we can retain people that we're able to attract who have a more diverse background. So, kudos to the district for having started this journey some years ago, and this milestone. Kudos to everyone who participated, and a special thank you to the students who have enriched our thinking and are helping us hold ourselves accountable.
Wonderful. So Anna, if you don't mind, will you pull up the policy that we sent the board this afternoon? Just want to make sure we go over a couple of things before we ask Trey and Jordan to come forward. So Lisa said it very well, that this isn't the beginning and this certainly is not the end. This is a continuation on the work that we believe is of the utmost importance. And it is really clarifying and defining each of our roles in this process. And not just for us right now. This is going to guide our district for years to come. And that to me is a key part of this document. And we need to hold that true to our own beliefs. So a couple of the feedback pieces that we sent to the board this afternoon. If you scroll to page 2, please. Go to 3 now. You have the highlighter going on it?
It's there. You keep going. It's under definitions. There it
First
is.
one's definition. There we go. So the first draft that we went through, the yellow areas are suggested removals. The blue areas are turquoise. My wife will always correct me on that color. Is the suggested change. And then the green is a little bit of the rationale for that modification. So that first definition talks about diversity. In our original definition, we had it listed as specifically as race or ethnicity. And when you go back to our first page, we list a whole bunch of different type of identifiers that include race, ethnicity, gender, gender identity, gender expression for the meaning of diverse. So the thought process is we should be consistent with keeping it with listing all of those different types of identifiers for us so that that was clear. So
To that point, Kevin, building on this recommendation you're making, I agree with it. And the original statement of it says including but not limited to. So I think in order to have this carry the intention from above, it should be variety, including but not limited to.
Okay.
Okay. So right after in variety, but not limited to.
Right.
Are we in agreement, board?
Yeah, that sounds good, but then limited to, get rid of the in right before including. There.
Yep.
That's correct. Yep.
Yep.
And then get rid of the yellow.
We're gonna get stuck in the weeds a little bit here.
Yeah, we can take all that off. So if you agree with the changes as proposed, that we can clean up for you then when we do provide you the clean copy.
But there is something about the variety in race, in ethnicity, in gender. So that preposition of in has an intention that we still may want to keep in there as opposed to just moving it to including, so. The wording of it might
Maybe we need to work,
need to smith it a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think that.
so we understand the intention.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else with that one? Okay. And if you scroll down, please, to opportunity gap. So in this is the part of our definition section. We need to have some dialogue on this one. So in the opportunity gap one, we go through and provide what we believe is the definition of it. The one suggestion putting out here is the next sentence, the last sentence we had, is more of an explanation of what the opportunity gap contributes to, not so much of it being a definition. So recommendation was to remove the last sentence because it's an explanation, not the definition, which is also similar to the next one. But we need to talk about, is that something you still want to keep in there, that last sentence? Because it is an explanation. Does that help clarify the definition better than if we removed that last sentence?
I can see both sides. Part of me says, keep it in there for anyone else reading the policy. It kind of points you in the direction of why it's so important to have this policy. Even though it's not necessarily a definition, it does explain to someone outside. We have experience, going through training and having some background information, but someone who doesn't have the background information may not grasp exactly what we're trying to do.
I like the removal. I think the removal keeps the paragraphs parallel and consistent in the intention of this is policy versus this is explanation of policy. I think there's different areas to go get explanation, but I think that keeps it clean and to the point.
Yes, I said I could see it before.
Aaron, Tom,
Yes.
Laura, Sarah?
Sarah?
Good with the recommendation. Keep it short, and sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's,
Sarah, did you have a?
It's like writing a paper.
Well, yeah, just to remove it. If it's going to be a policy, just keep it as simple. Why just continue giving an explanation? So I will remove it.
Okay, all right.
decision.
Your decision. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks.
And then it's the same, we go to the next definition, it was similar with how we define racial and ethnic equity.
Okay.
Substitute B would be the same.
Roll down.
Okay. And then the last one that we have, suggestion was just reading through the document. We've referenced in the first page cultural responsiveness. And we felt it was important to add that to the list of definitions, so that it meant the same for everybody. We're comfortable with that definition.
Yeah, I would just move it to the first one on the list for alphabet, to be alphabetized.
Okay, yeah, fine. That is fine.
Can do.
I just wanted to point out that term is specifically used in some of the state's language towards what they're looking for, so.
Well, thank you for the feedback on this. Now is probably gonna be the most important time we get here. And I don't want to put any pressure on anybody, but both these young adults they're made for us. So Trey and Jordan, please come up. You've been such an instrumental part for us in helping guide and lead us. You have the floor right now to please share with us what process meant for you and any part of your story that you want to be able to bring to us. So as we keep moving this forward, because Mr. Baker, you're moving on. Yes, sir. Really. You're going to be with us next year. So we are going to be looking to your leadership and guidance as we continue to move forward. I do want to make sure that I say this before both of you would get off the stand here. When we went through this process and we were talking about this, the key was history and how we kept moving this forward into the future. So I have put out the offer for Ms. Miller and Mr. Baker to come back and be educators at Mundelein High School. To get to the point that they also want to take admin roles and start keeping this work and moving it forward. So that's out there. It's on public record. So we look for the opportunity. So with that, the floor is yours.
So again, my name is Jordan Miller. I'm a junior at Mundelein High School and also the co-director for our Mundelein My Brother's Keeper community. Just under a year ago, the world exploded with motion. People protested in the streets by day and rioted by night, fueled by anger and fear. Angry at a system that has failed them and fearful that result would be death more often than not. Like many others, at 8 years old, I experienced a broken system. I experienced a classroom full of excelling students, yet deprived of diversity. At 13, I experienced the hate, the ignorance of those around me, and the bubbling entitlement they must have felt to attempt to diminish me with words created to break me. Tonight, we are here to fix the system. Through anger and fear has come drive, opportunity, a reason, a why. Tonight, we have taken the necessary action and initiative to, if not mend an old, create a new. A system that addresses every student in every necessary aspect. Their intellectualism, identity, criticality, and skill. Just under a year ago, this was unimaginable. Not only did it take someone with a vision to act, it took someone with the willingness to listen and change. I'd like to thank each and every one of you in this room that made it a priority to change the system and provide better for our students. I'd like to add and reiterate what has been said before. This is only the beginning. Thank you.
What's up? So again, my name is Trey Baker. I'm a senior here at Mundelein High School. I have the honor of serving as our president of the Mundelein Black Student Union, as well as directing with Jordan, the Mundelein My Brother's Keeper community, working alongside the Obama Foundation. At the core of our education system are the bedrock principles to build safe and supportive communities that cultivate the genius, nurture the identities, honor the stories, and celebrate the hearts, and challenge in a way that is healthy and collaborative the minds of those educating and those being educated. The project of each generation is to bridge the meaning of those founding words with the realities of changing times. A never-ending quest to ensure those words ring true for every single human being that steps foot in Mundelein High School. These remarkable men and women who make up our teaching faculty and young men and women who create our student body come from different backgrounds, different races, different cultures, different ethnicities. Each has a different story. But in turn, we all have a shared spirit of love and respect for one another, because in education, we don't see our differences as something to suppress or to divide us. We see it as our strength to understand, honor, and appreciate what makes us and our communities as a whole unique and special. We see what makes our story unified. We see our differences as a way to continue pushing the boundaries and reimagine what education looks like in the 21st century and lay the groundwork for future generations. progress on this journey, as Dr. Myers alluded to bring these shared values to make up the foundation of our educational system takes time. Meaningful change takes time. It requires strategy, consistent and effective communication, listening to each other, and sustainable energy among a unified purpose, driving what is to be and will become. And as former President of the United States, Barack Obama once said, there are days like this when that slow, steady effort is rewarded. And justice arrives like a thunderbolt. Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today because of those sustainable efforts, energy, and purpose for a more promising educational environment that values the lives of those who have been historically marginalized and discriminated against, an equitable and joyful experience through the possibilities of a good education. We've made it to this point to pass the first ever District 120 school board policy on racial and educational equity, because we have to come to grips with the fact that our educational system can truly reach its full potential when every voice is heard, when every journey is supported, when every life is valued, when every heart of our children is loved. This policy ensures this because it holds every one of us accountable to uphold these truths. It builds a new curriculum model that provides each student with the opportunity to express their identity, to cultivate a multitude of skills, build intellectualism within each area of study, and develop criticality to advance their understanding of power, equity, anti-racism, and other anti-oppressions. It aims to combat inequity by actively recognizing and removing barriers to provide all students with the support and opportunity they need to strive toward their full potential. It develops new strategies of hiring practices and processes to actively recruit, employ, support, and retain a highly qualified workforce that includes racial, gender, and linguistic diversity. With this policy, we're also allocating the necessary resources in an intentional, responsible manner by providing every student with equitable access to a high-quality curriculum, cultural competent staff, support, facilities, and several other educational resources. We're doing all of this by ensuring input from our teaching faculty, community stakeholders, and most importantly, student voice, to align and leverage community resources in a collaborative manner. Now, the task for us is to bring this document to life. Some of what's already listed in this policy is already being practiced within Mundelein High School classrooms right now. And they've seen promising results from their students understanding themselves and the world around them. I'm in some of these classes myself. But in order to elevate this work, each and every one of us has to be held accountable. From our school board to our administrators, teachers, and students. The only way these things work is if we do it together. That requires listening to each other, having faith in one another, daring to hope, staying committed. I want to thank the District 120 Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Myers, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Carlo, Principal Dr. Kroll, our assistant principals, Mr. Kevin Quinn, Mrs. Cabasuela, our fantastic group of teachers who have been instrumental in getting these initiatives off the ground in their classrooms, our entire leadership team with the Mundelein My Brother's Keeper community and our BSU, our beloved community members, and most importantly, we want to thank our students for your impactful stories and shared passion for change. Some of them are here today. We couldn't thank you all enough for putting your faith and trust in Jordan and I to be the catalyst for the change we wish to be and the change we wish to see. You are our heroes. You should be proud. The community of Mundelein should be proud because our voices were heard. We are a people that believe every single child is entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There's so much work to be done to fully extend the full promise of every student and educator. But tonight we can say by passing this policy in no uncertain terms that we made our union a little bit more perfect. This historic moment proves we don't have to accept the world for what it is. We can make it into a world that it should be, it could be. A new normal, one that is fair, gives everybody opportunity, treats everyone equally and builds bridges between people instead of dividing them. But similar to key moments in history, it's going to depend on us continuing to empower young people to go out there and rewrite what is possible. That's why tonight I urge you all to vote yes on the passing of the District 120 School Board Policy on racial and educational equity. Thank you.
Tonight's a lot about thanks and making sure we're set a clear path. And what I do want to be able to do is share some thanks with our fearless leaders. So on behalf of the school board, what we've got are 2 plaques with a saying from Barack Obama: change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. So on behalf of the school board, your administration, Jordan and Trey, we honor you with a plaque of appreciation. And for when you get to school, we got your backpack too, it's got your initials on it. Everybody, thank you. Okay. Thank you all very much. So we're going to go to closed session. Then I'll go to closed session. So it's going to be vote. Go. Get tables. Get spots.
Don't forget the backpack.
I got you.
Oh, yes, for that one.
No, sure.
Can we have it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Ready?
Okay, so the next thing, superintendent's done, right?
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
good?
Our action
Okay.
items.
Next thing is action items. You need to vote on those. And the first one would be the final 2020-2021 school calendar. The recommended vote is that the Board of Education, Mundelein High School 120, accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the final 2020-2021 school calendar as presented. May I have a motion?
Second.
Chris Crowley,
Yes.
Wellington,
Yes.
Yaffe, yes, vote,
Yes.
Davalos,
Yes.
Mellon.
Yes.
Women.
This one is racial and education equity, second and final. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education of Mundelein High School District 120 adopt the second and final policy 712 racial education equity as presented.
So move.
Aye. Mellon. Yes. Yaffe, yes, vote,
Yes.
Davalos,
Yes.
Net, Restrelli,
Absolutely, yes.
well, Wellington.
Yes.
Without mention, and being part of the process, and thank you everyone for your input and Kevin for kind of getting this whole ball rolling. This is quite the milestone, so we look forward to what the continuation will be.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will need to adjourn to executive session. Enter into executive session.
Mellon.
Yes.
Wellington.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, vote.
Yes.
Davalos.
Yes.
Okay. So may I have a roll call for open session? Maybe.
You turned it.
You turned it.
Yeah, so moved.
Actually, it's called order, right?
Yes.
Okay, Davalos.
Yes.
Mellon.
Yes.
Wimet.
Yes.
Australia.
Here.
Wellington.
Here.
Yeah, yeah, be here, vote.
Here, yes. So. You're now in open session.
Anna, there's no minute.
Oh, the recommended motion is on the back.
But that's, no.
Yes.
Wording, it's in there, recommendation.
There's one here. Wait a minute. On the front, there's the recommended motion to close. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them.
Okay,
They just look to see them?
yes. So I should, yes, that's what, okay. All right. The first one is executive session minutes. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education of Mundelein High School District 120 accepts the superintendent's recommendation to approve the executive session minutes for March 9th, 2021. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mellon.
Yes.
Davalos.
Yes.
Wimet.
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
Wellington, yes.
Yes.
Yaffe. Oh, wait. Sorry, Wellington.
Yes.
I'll let you do your own vote. Yaffe, yes. Vote?
Yes. Second one is the verbatim audio recording of executive session. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education, Mundelein High School District 120, accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the destruction of proposed meeting audio recording as presented after April 6, 2021. Do I need to read all the dates?
So moved.
Second.
Mellon.
Yes.
Vote.
Yes.
Davalos.
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
Wellington.
Yes.
Yaffe, yes.
The next one is the review of closed session minutes. The following of closed session written minutes were reviewed and will continue to remain confidential. February 11, 2020, March 10th, 2020, June 16th, 2020, September 8th, 2020, October 6th, 2020.
So moved.
The recommended motion that the Board of Mundelein High School District 120 accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the following closed session minutes continue to require confidentiality and are recommended to remain in the closed session file.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Mellon.
Yes.
Wimet.
Yes.
Davalos.
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
Wellington.
Yes.
Yaffe, yes. Vote.
Yes. Okay, the last one is the review of closed session minutes no longer require confidentiality. The recommended motion is that the Board of Education of Mundelein High School District 120 accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the following closed session minutes no longer require confidentiality. and are available for public inspection.
So moved.
Mellon,
Yes.
Australia,
Yes.
Wellington,
Yes.
Yaffe, yes, vote.
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Annette. Now.
Great. So now we have. President. Of course, we're all anxiously awaiting the results of tonight's election. So coming up, what's coming up on April 28th will be the seating of the new board. I'm happy to continue as president. Peter has expressed interest in being vice president. Is there anyone interested in being secretary?
Can I comment on my abilities?
No, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm throwing it out there.
Appeal to you?
No.
Appeal to you?
No, not particularly.
Okay, I'm happy to do that unless the new person.
Excellent.
So how does this work, given that we don't know what we are yet?
I
Is
know,
this more of
I
a-
know how it works.
Yeah, is this
Okay.
a conversation?
So
Is this
four
a
of us-
decision-making period? I'm confused.
4 of us will win. Those.
So I understand that part. Specific to the roles of the executive.
Okay, usually someone is,
Are we agreeing to anything before we know who's on?
we're not agreeing to it in the fact that
No.
if we would all win, this would be a plan that we could go behind. The people who want to be president or vice president, someone has to nominate them and then it's voted on.
Okay.
Normally, in regular circumstances, you do not have the entire board except one being changed over. This is very, very, in all the terms I've served on a board, 3 at District 76 and 1, I've never seen a board have 6 positions.
Right.
Turnover. So, I don't know if you want to address it a little.
I get that. Maybe just let me throw this out there. If others are interested in different roles or results suggest that a election. Now, or should we wait? Or
So what, this, an attempt to align people's interests with possible, with a likely outcome. But it's not, no decision is.
Yeah, no
being
decisions
There's
made tonight.
Not, yeah. And boards, if they don't have a conversation like this, can end up with people getting nominated for jobs they don't want, or,
Too many people for the same job.
yeah. But if we get someone in who wants to run for one of these things, that's certainly a possibility, and that's fine. But now people know who to nominate.
Right. Who's interested?
Who knows who's interested?
Contract, so we're good to start. We've got some basis to start.
Yeah, if the election goes south. All bets are off.
But I think the other thing that should be brought up is typically with the seats, president, vice president, secretary, you want your board members that have been on the board, at least for a 2-year term. So that they have a sense of the flow of what's taking place and they can fill in for any new board members that come on. So typically, even if you have new board members come on, it's not very much advocated that you have new members fill in those spots because they don't have any of the really the background scheme of what's taking place the previous 2 to 4 years.
But as of now, Tom and Sarah, you think you're gonna be able to come to that meeting
On the
in
28th?
May, so that we
I
can
will
say our
fulfill my-
thank yous then?
Yes,
It's the 28th of April.
Yes, the 28th, yes.
Excellent.
okay, because we have a, yeah.
Time to die.
Tom, if you win as mayor, take what Kevin just said, heed that advice.
I was analyst.
Okay.
That's my advice.
Okay, so, So yeah, this is nothing set in stone. I don't know what the election's gonna bring, maybe it'll be 10%, though, I have really no feel, it's just, like you said, an interest. I know you were interested in that. Secretary, funny thing, when I got on, I got immediately nominated to be secretary, but I had been on the school board for quite some time. I don't know what the experience of the other two candidates are as far as, like if you've been on a school board, I had been on one for 9 years before this board, so I kind of knew a little bit of procedure wise, but that doesn't mean that they, the new person could become secretary if they so choose.
Well, Lisa, are you interested in continuing to be the secretary?
I'm willing to serve, but I'm totally indifferent.
Laura Mellon, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah,
Okay.
but can I just say something about the outcome of the election that is a little concerning to me that I just want to say is that when we reorganize, are we going to reorganize in that whoever are the two people who get the lowest votes are going to automatically be appointed as the 2-year, or are we going to look to possibly have one of those people appointed to a 4-year and one person who won the 4-year to the 2-year? No, thank you, Kevin. You're shaking your head.
We
Tell
can't
me
do
how.
that. So whoever,
Wins the
clarify,
4,
whoever
the top 4.
gets the 4 spots, there'll be a total of 5 people seated on April 28th. Then after that, that board on the April 28th will need to decide how they want to proceed for filling those 2 slots. The board has the option of appointing the 2 other individuals that did not win the election. Or they have the option of going out and saying they're going to solicit for resumes, other people of interest.
Because we filled out the paper,
Right.
whoever gets those 4 slots, filled out the paperwork for those 4-year terms. So we don't have the option of saying, okay, you take 2-year and we.
Right.
So on the 28th, those 2 positions then will not be filled.
Correct.
No.
Okay.
That's prescribed.
But we will still vote for the people to fill in the officers, even with minus 2 people from the board.
Even if those
You have
people-
to.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have to have some.
That's also prescribed.
So if Peter is one of the
Right.
lower 2, and
And you're gonna
then we
appoint him
can't
vice
vote him as
president?
vice president, is what I'm saying.
It doesn't work, right?
If he's not officially elected, no, he couldn't.
So if the scenarios work like that, the thing to talk about would be identifying who could be president pro temp for a meeting. Vice president pro temp for a minute,
Okay,
a meeting. You could do that.
okay.
So then you could say you wanted to have a full seated board.
Let's hope the election results turn out well and we'll go from there.
And just
Let's not make
remember
it
that
too complicated until we know what we're dealing with.
we had a lot of early voting, which will come out later. We had a lot of mail-in voting, which will come out later. So even at the end of the night and into tomorrow, we still don't have the final results. So don't get your britches in a twist. Your britches in a twist. Don't do that.
So anyway, you know what, the votes will come in, so we'll see, we'll worry about that. But I like the idea of having a fully seated board in that.
Okay.
Good.
I'm good. I just wanted to clear that up. I want to say it out loud.
All right, is there any other thing that anybody else is concerned about right now?
Can I have one more thing besides the thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought you were bringing up, okay, go ahead.
So the one other thing, and this was, I think Kevin was the one who brought it up at our last board meeting, but I want to reiterate to all of you about HB 7 that is before the state right now about consolidating districts. And in addition to you guys contact, we all have really the same few legislators that represent us. But I encourage you, if you have anybody else in any other part of the state that can also send some sort of a communication to their representative and to let them know that across the state, this is a bad idea.
Right.
So, because we can only talk to our representative and have any effect there. And I think our representative is already kind of on board. So we really need to change the minds of some of the other people. So I just want to put that out there as your legislative representative, so.
Anything about hand sanitizer? you were concerned about?
In, with the state,
No, just in general.
that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm really doing. Those other things were just kind of extra. I had the sanitizer stuff here.
Okay.
Okay, so last month it was kind of casually brought up about naming the devices that are disinfecting our classrooms that kind of look like robots, the things that stand about 6 feet tall and are like a bunch of tubes. And it was thrown to me, Laura, you could do that. And I was like, hey, sure I will. So I have come up with some name ideas. And I just wanted to run them by you and see what you guys think and if I'm going in the right direction. And then I also thought that we may want to have a contest with the student to, ultimately choose, because I would just assume that they have the final say so, and they're the ones who are seeing these things operate on a daily basis. So
Next week.
whenever I posed the idea to anyone, they all said the Three Stooges, and I said, but we've got 5 of them, and they reminded me there were 5 Stooges because Shemp and Joe came later. So that was like one of the top ones. I had somebody who liked the 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, where the 7 brothers were named for people in the Bible, beginning with the first letters of the alphabet. So there was Adam, Benjamin, Caleb, Daniel, Ephraim, Frank, and Gideon. So that was another idea. There's the old military thing, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. So that was another. I kind of like the idea of something that was like techno, but friendly. I will tell you that my original thought was women's names, but there's too many of them that made it sound like she was a maid, like Rosie or Felicia or something, and I was like, yeah, we don't want to have that kind of a image. So I was looking at things like, Nano and Giga and Quasar and Pixel and calling them kind of technical names sort of thing, but cutesy names. So I have a list of about 9 of those. And then I came up with also Ray, which I liked Ray because of the rays, the UV rays that these things do. And I thought Ray, Roy, Rob, Rock, and Roll, all 3-letter names as another possibility. And then there was also the idea of Greek gods, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Samson, stuff like that. The ones who performed, incredible feats of strength, because that's kind of what these machines do. So,
Hang on,
yeah,
how did the idea come up to name them?
I don't know. Weren't you guys here? Meeting?
No, this is news to
Yeah,
me.
I don't remember.
Yeah, this is new.
Where's this going?
I
No idea
do
of the
not.
context or the.
Maybe it was Kevin Quinn, because that sounds like him, but somehow.
I asked Kevin Quinn. He didn't know. I asked him if he had names or if he wanted to name the UV lights.
Oh, so I really created this all in my own head.
I think you did. It's very interesting, but I have no recollection of like.
I want to pick up all my.
naming them.
I'll do this tomorrow.
Never heard about this before.
I like the Ray idea. Being a science guy, I was thinking like Roy G. Biv,
Ray and Roy,
your electromagnetic spectrum.
yeah. We could have Ray 1, Ray 2, Ray 3, Ray 4, Ray 5, Anyway, well, okay, so I just created something out of. Wow.
I like the ones with
Huh?
Send me the names and I'll give them to Quinn and we'll see if they do something creative.
I do like the
There you go.
Alpha
Alpha,
Baby Bravo too. That's
Bravo.
fun. Like, those are very fun.
Alpha
Let's stick
Bravo.
Is there any that you want me to nix out and not send?
I'm sticking with
The-
metrics.
The religious
I also
ones.
was told never
Okay.
name your farm animals.
The 7 Brides for
I
7
would
Brothers?
keep them either like scientific, like Quasar, or I would keep them gender neutral, yes.
I like your idea potentially of having it be a student contest too.
Yes.
Yes. Have the student naming them. But you put out a great effort thinking in your head that you had it all figured out, Laura.
I like it because I don't remember any conversation.
No, I did not recall any conversation. Good dream, Laura.
Just talking about it and tossing it around and.
I don't want any memories of those missions.
Yeah, I hope those machines, we don't have to use them forever, so. Is there any other points of concern coming up that anybody's worried about? I was happy to hear your comment that we're looking, when do you know if you'll get the state guidelines for next fall? Or when, like, anything?
We're hoping for May.
Okay,
Yeah. They typically, it's been a month or two before that nodal point for them, like the start of the last school year, they got us the information in the beginning of June.
okay.
Typically, we get it on a Friday at 2:00.
All right, so we'll keep our eyes open on the emails for when that information comes. Other than that, Sarah, of course, we're gonna miss you guys. Sad this is your last full meeting that you'll have to get to attend, but we have a little something for next time, so make sure you come.
Oh, and I meant to say thank you, Sarah, for taking care of the minutes, because I know that's extra time and I appreciate you doing that for us.
No, well, thank Anna that she's always by my side. Well, she was by my side always, and she always supported anything that we needed help or that I needed help with or so. But yeah, I'll be there on the 28th. I'm sorry I couldn't be present today due to my small injury, but it's getting better.
All right, well, I hope your ankle, I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you.
I wish everyone here good luck tonight on the election for whatever you're running for. Wrap it up. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good night, everyone.
From right now.